Hi Guy! As we come closer and closer to yet another console launch with the Switch, I've been looking more to the other systems and what's been happening, because they're pretty new, the Xbox One, the PS4, they're all pretty new and stuff. But one thing that changed really with this generation compared to, like, say, the 360 and the PS3 one was the whole strive for backwards compatibility. Now, or BC, as I'll abbreviate. Now, with BC on the past systems, it was really was a necessary thing to have because, people had these huge games libraries. The games were pretty cheap by the end of the system's life. So not having to keep yet another system and just being able to switch straight over to the new one, stick all the games, were an absolute must. Plus, you've got the fact that most of the systems have next to no launch, maybe 10 or 15 launch games if you're lucky. So you need stuff to tide you over in the meantime. Add to the fact that the big companies need to have something still flowing through the shops, and you might as well sell older stock to new users if there's a possibility of it. But now, as we get to the Switch, and the point is, the Switch isn't really capable of playing Wii U games, obviously, because it's not got that whole screen. It's not got the two screens. But it is capable of playing, like, say, 3DS games. You could split the screen. There's a way of emulating it, probably quite easily in DS games, and of course you'll have the whole VC side. But then it also the same applies to, like, say, the 360 stuff. But I mean, the thing is with the Xbox One, when it first launched, they seem to have just abandoned the whole past library. They weren't really interested in backwards compatibility, but there was always this hint that they might do something in future. And then, like, I'll say last year, I was in 2015, but whenever they launched the whole Xbox 360 back patching for specific games, because basically the Xbox One would emulate an actual 360 and they would tidy it up and make it work and stuff. And it wasn't a huge hit, but it did pretty well, and it was a huge boost for them, and there was a lot being touted about it, and they're still getting excited with it now. I know like Halo Wars 2 is on the way, and there's a lot of excitement because they're going to re-release or push out the patch for the first one. But I mean, the same is happening with PS4 because you've got that online library where you can just play like PS2 and PS3 games, and I think it does PS1 games as well. Add to that, you've also got the whole Vita library and stuff. So being able to go back to that past library is actually a very, very important thing. But at the moment, like with the Switch, there doesn't seem to be any drive forward that, oh yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's going to cause a massive problem with Nintendo, and not to go off on them again, but I think they never really seem to take notice of the other people in the market. But at the same time, you've got the Xbox Scorpio coming up, and there's no real talk of how that's going to work with the older systems. I mean, one would assume that with them bringing out a more powerful, it's basically just an Xbox One souped up, but with it being more powerful, it'll be able to emulate the older games better, so you should, in theory, be able to get more and more onto the system. There's no news on the PS4, obviously. But I mean, as a whole, backwards compatibility has been going on right since the early days of console gaming. I mean, I think it was on the Atari 2600, the ColecoVision even, which was a much, much better system, come up about 4 or 5 years later after the original. But they had that whole, I think I'm thinking of the right system, sorry, but this plug-in socket thing which would let you play 2600 cartridges, and then you had the Atari 7800 that could play 2600 cartridges. Going on to the SNES, at one point they were discussing in the design stages to make it fully compatible with the NES, just so people could have that access to that whole library and it wouldn't upset parents and families and things like that. But it just never happened. So it is a very, very important thing, and every time there's a new launch, it does come up as a subject. But as we move more into a digital age, I think the need for, is it as prevalent as it used to be? Is it just fading away? Well, for me personally, I don't think, because I love retro, I think we need more of it. And I'm now rambling because I'm not entirely sure where we can go. The problem is, BC is great. I love it, and one of the biggest problems with it at the moment is the whole pricing structure with a lot of systems. I think PlayStation went the right way by paying like a tenner a month and you get access to that online library, which is fine if you've got a decent internet connection, and because you're basically playing the game, because it's streaming them live. It's because I've tried it on, because I've got a 100 meg connection, it's pretty decent. So it works very, very well, but I always worry on the much lower connections, especially if you're playing like a big action game, you'll lose out. But I'm now wondering, I wonder if the Xbox is going to go the same way, because they've got the server structure to do a much better service like that. And now I think Nintendo could possibly go that way as well. But again, they've not said anything, and it's all up in the air. As always, guys, thanks for listening, and please look forward to another video soon.